Zach is back. It's the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
All right, welcome back in. Time in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios is 4:16. Subway Series tonight, the final Subway Series game at Citi Field for this year, and then it will go over to the big ballpark in the Bronx. Your Mets lineup tonight, Diaza, Walker, Bruce with his debut playing in right field, Loney, Flores, Conforto. Thank God Conforto is in the lineup tonight. Darno, Reynolds, and DeGrom. And now joining us on the hotline, he does a fantastic job as an analyst on SNY, covering the New York Mets, and is a former Mets and Phillies pitcher, and that is Nelson Figueroa. Figueroa, how are you, my man?
I'm doing well, brother. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for a few minutes. So last night, I thought it was a disaster of a loss for the Mets. I did not like the managing by Terry Collins, and up until this year, I have never ripped Terry Collins. I thought before last year he was put in an unfortunate situation, so I'll preface it by saying that, but I don't understand why Blevins is in the game last night in the 8th inning.
Yeah, I thought it was a little iffy to put in Blevins in that situation. I think you look for him to come in as that one-out guy and for the big bat kind of thing. But with the Yankees not having that big bat, I think he was maybe over-analyzing it there and wanting to go to the lefty-lefty matchup with those two speedsters right away. But Reed has been doing such a fantastic job, whether it's lefty or righty. It really shouldn't have mattered. You kind of go with the blind faith, and knowing that you are a little short in the bullpen, it would always be good to have Blevins to use just in case something happened. And, well, it did happen.
How would you evaluate the job of Terry Collins so far this year?
Well, I mean, he's had so much to juggle around. Of course, every thing that in hindsight that happens that goes wrong, it seems to blow up, and in hindsight you look at it and it's easy to dissect it, but at the time being of what he has to juggle and all the permutations of lineups that have been thrown at him. If you look at the opening day lineup and see all the things that have gone wrong with almost each and every one of those players, including Matt Harvey being out for the season, when you lose the supposed ace of your staff, who was never really there from the beginning, it was tough on him having to carry that load along each and every time Matt started. It was more and more of the same, and not being able to have that guy back in the middle of your rotation, and then if you add on all the injuries, you're looking at, losing someone like Duda with the back injury and David Wright with the surgery. I mean, that's a lot to do. And we looked at it last year. I mean, very, very, you can make the comparison to the Nationals last year and what happened. But, Matt Williams' managing was really the huge downfall in the handling of that clubhouse. I don't think the handling of the clubhouse is anything to be alarmed about with Terry, but there has been some, mistakes made, but no one's perfect. But in New York, of course, it's going to be magnified.
There's no question that the injuries have killed this team this year, and also the lack of hitting with men in scoring position. But last night, I didn't like that lineup, and we were on air when it was released, and I still don't get, and I know Conforto has not been good in his career up against lefties. He's been awful, but with Cespedes out, I think you have to play Conforto to start him last night, and they didn't. They went with Diaz and Ruggiano. I just don't like that decision.
Well, we know Diaza has been one of the hottest hitters the month of July. He turned it around big time, batting just
That's
south
fair.
of 400. So you want to keep with him. He's also a much better defensive center fielder, or I should say outfielder, than Conforto or anybody else. Ruggiano, of course, they picked him up, and they're hoping to hit lightning in a bottle by giving a guy an opportunity, and that didn't work out very well. Just 2 games, and now he's on the DL, getting the injury bug that the Mets have had all season. So, yeah, I mean, of course, Conforto's bat is the reason that he should be in the lineup each and every day, and they kind of did him a disservice from the beginning of last year when they didn't let him face lefties, but only about a handful of at-bats before the playoffs, and then you wonder what the kid can do at the major league level. He never had a problem hitting lefties in the minor leagues or in college or anywhere else, but, when you start making an issue of something that's not an issue, that does get into the head of a player always. So that in itself was something that's going to have to be worked out, and eventually you're going to have to put him out there every single day and let him learn to make the adjustment. But with that lineup last night, I understood some of the things they were trying to do. And, again, Diaza plays a very good center field once Ruggiano went down. So I understand it, but with Conforto struggling mightily against lefties, it's kind of they were trying to get as many runs as they could on the board first before having to go to Conforto as a pinch hitter later on.
And they're going to platoon him, if I'm reading everything correctly, when Cespedes returns healthy, and I know he's available to pinch hit tonight, and they get some DH games coming up. But when you're in the National League, you'll probably have Cespedes in left field, Bruce in right, and then you'll platoon Granderson and Conforto. Does it make sense at Conforto's stage of his career to keep him up on the big league roster if you're just going to platoon him?
Well, that's one of the biggest concerns is what value does he add if he's not going to play every day? Does he show the propensity to come off the bench and give you that big hit? He hasn't been able to do it yet with any regularity, and you have someone like Diaza who has been doing that role throughout his career, and that's one of the reasons why you brought him here was to be that extra outfielder and the guy to hit. So it would seem like it would be a time to maybe send Conforto down and continue his progression and let him face more lefties down in AAA and do more of that. But, when you get the reports back from somebody you trust like a Wally Backman and the rest of that staff saying that this guy does not belong here and he's not learning anything, he's just going to abuse AAA pitching, especially in the PCL. Everything's so inflated. You take a bad swing and get a good result a lot of times, so that doesn't really help out a guy who needs to really figure out how to hit left-handed pitching.
We're talking to Nelson Figueroa from SNY, former Mets and Phillies pitcher on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. I like the move by Sandy at the deadline. How about you with the acquisition of one Jay Bruce?
I mean, when you think of taking or giving away two minor league players, one guy who's just in the Appalachian League, which is low A ball, and someone like Dilson Herrera, who they had high hopes for, but you can really fill in that role for the next 3 years with a bunch of different major league caliber players that are already at major league caliber. And you get an all-star, a guy who's leading the NL in RBIs, a guy with 25 home runs, more than Cespedes even, and who's playing for a team that wasn't very good at all in the Cincinnati Reds. I like everything about it. Again, with the extra year of control, this wasn't for a rental. This is for a guy who, you have the rest of this year and then next year. And if all things being fit, Granderson is out after next year, he might be the right fielder for the foreseeable future.
And it's going to help the Mets greatly with men in scoring position. And last night they were 1-7. As a pitcher, as someone that had to get those batters out, what do you notice on what the Mets batters are doing right now with men in scoring position? Because it's been a problem all year long.
Yeah, I think the pressure is normally on the pitcher. That's the way
Right?
That's the way it's always been for me when I'm on the mound. Is that I almost have to be perfect. This guy's going to lay off all the stuff that I want to get him out with, and if I make a mistake, he's going to make me pay. But it just seems like the Mets Mets hitters are just really being overly aggressive and trying to do too much with too many pitches that are out of the strike zone. And quite frankly, a walk does not hurt you. A walk, swinging at pitches over your head or swinging at pitches outside the strike zone, trying to make something happen is never really a good thing. The numbers are very down on the percentages of being successful. So to me, it's if you don't get that pitch, if you might get the next one, make the guy make two pitches in a row. It's been a frustrating year as far as that's concerned, and I know Terry's frustration has risen in that press conference saying that the media keeps bringing it up, but I mean it's glaring. It's just a glaring thing for a team-wide offense that cannot find ways to produce runs with having so many opportunities. I mean, you're talking about in one series, there was 52, I think, runners in scoring position, and they only got 5 hits of that whole time. That really is a tough pill to swallow, and it's something that you hope that will turn around at some point, and maybe the spark plug of someone like Bruce in the middle of that lineup showing how it's done could be the biggest key.
How will the teammates perceive Jonathan Neese when he walks in that clubhouse? I know he already did and talked to the media, but I'm sure you've been a teammate and you had someone that you disagreed with. How would you perceive someone like Jonathan Neese with what he said when he went out the door?
Well, the veteran guys that it's happened to among throughout their career, where you get traded and you want to say things, and sometimes you swallow your pride and you don't. In this day and age, you make one comment, you put out one tweet, or you do anything on social media, and then you regret that you did it and you want to take it back. You can't. It's a different era, and so you understand the frustrations. I mean, he was speaking, trying to be complimentary of his new team at the same time. Just a little dig at his former team. Again, everybody knows they didn't play the greatest of defense behind him because he was such a ground ball pitcher, not a strikeout guy, and he needed his defense to be successful. That's something that I needed as well. I pitched to contact most of my career, and the better my defense could help me, the more outs they got for me, the more double plays we were able to turn, the better off I would be. So I understand the frustration, but something that Jonathan Neese will learn is that little slice of humble pie and not burning bridges, because that it comes back to haunt you in a way. He's going to get another opportunity here. Remember, he was going to be just kind of sat as the forgotten man in the bullpen with the Pirates, whereas he's going to have an opportunity to do something in that 6th, 7th inning role, being how well he did in the playoffs, and really have a chance to help this ball club out. So I think as long as he's able to go out there and take care of stuff on the field, all's forgiven.
We're talking to Nelson Figueroa, wrapping up with him. So we have a lot of fans in this market, and it's rare to find that you'll have both New York fans and Philadelphia fans living in the same place. But that's what we have here in Princeton, New Jersey. So compare to me what it was like to play in New York and Philadelphia.
Well, New York was always it's more pressure to play in New York. There's so many eyes and ears, and everybody knows the game better than you do. Even when you're on the mound, even my dad, I'd come home and he would have it up on the queued up on the TV of why would you throw this pitch? I'm like I want to go to sleep, and 7:00 in the morning wake me up and be like, so why did you throw this pitch? What are you thinking? Why are you? He would call it the junk ball. I'm like, will you stop calling it the junk ball? I'm a grown man. I'm a professional pitcher, and you're telling me don't throw him the junk ball. I said, you don't even know what it's called. It's a split finger. So things like that, that's what New York fans are capable of doing. The Phillies fans, I tell you what, is a world of difference when from my years with the Phillies in 2001 and then from 2010, once they got the taste of a winner, they were all about doing everything it was for their team to win. They were much more gracious towards their teams. There was a lot less booing of their own teams and of their own players. So I was very appreciative of my second welcoming in Philadelphia and the time I had there. They went, to the National League Division Series again, and there was such a good team, a good bunch of guys that grew old together, and that was the problem for that Philadelphia team. But I tell you what, it's definitely two places to play on the East Coast where fans are so passionate about their teams, and they go about it with 100% of their heart.
I love your Twitter bio, and I also love your story. Your bio says, born and raised in Brooklyn as a Mets fan and lived the dream of becoming one, now using my 19 years of playing experience to bring you closer to the team. Your story is just remarkable.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was very blessed for a guy who, coming out of high school wasn't very highly thought of. I was, 5'10", 130 pounds with a unibrow, to getting an opportunity to get my foot in the door with the New York Mets and signing out of a Division III college and to play 19 years and get paid to do what I love and go all around the world, travel and win championships. I mean, I couldn't ask for more.
So in New York, where do you go if you want a really good meal? And also in Philadelphia, where did you go to get your cheesesteak?
Oh, you had to go to Gino's down in.
Wow, you fell for the tourist trap, really?
No. I'll tell you the real reason. It was on my way home. It was the route that I took, so it was very easy. I make the call ahead of time. I stop in, and they just come out with it to the car. So that would make it easy. But in New York, I'm a big fan of pizza, of course, and so L&B's Pizza, Spumoni Gardens in Brooklyn. That's a must for me. I used to bring it to the ballpark as a treat for all the guys and the security guards and everybody else. They would love when I would come home from Brooklyn to give them the pizza. So those are two of my favorite spots.
Now, before we let you run, as Nelson Figueroa joins us, the Phillies yesterday at the deadline, many people thought they would trade Jeremy Hellickson, but Matt Klentak elected not to. And you look at that Phillies rotation, you have 4 young guns, and then you have a vet in Jeremy Hellickson. How important is that vet in the rotation in a Jeremy Hellickson?
Well, Mets fans could tell you that all by themselves. You look at Bartolo Colon and how tremendous he has been in the 2 years that he has been here, and even this year moving forward. You look at what he's capable of doing, being that calming effect of, yes, you have the young guns and they might strike out 10, they might walk 10. But, you have somebody like Bartolo Colon and Hellickson who know how to pitch with less than their best stuff, know how to pitch with less than 100-mile-an-hour fastball, how to mix up pitches. And I think one of the things that I love about that Philly staff is that each one of these guys maybe has that mid-90s to sometimes, upper 90s fastball, but they have that slow curveball. That's a lost art in this game, that you see that slow curveball that really neutralizes hitters trying to be overly aggressive. We see all the shifts and everything else, but that when you can put together that hard fastball with that nice slow curveball, then they all have a little cutter or changeup to add to it, and you have a nice mix of power pitchers, and you have somebody like Hellickson who kind of just keeps on getting people out, and guys go back to the bench wondering how the hell he do it again. But that's the kind of pitcher you need in a staff like this, and I think everybody sees the benefits of that.
Hey, Nelson, we appreciate the time today. You're a superstar now at SNY, and I always enjoyed watching your career in both the Mets and Philadelphia. And I'm a Mets fan until I die, and I hope that we get to talk to you later on in October, but I'm not that optimistic with this current Mets team, but we appreciate a few minutes today.
Hey, either way, we'll be talking.
For sure. I think that sounds good. Hopefully with a nice slice of pizza from Brooklyn, right?
All right, brother.
All right, thanks so much. There's Nelson Figueroa joining us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, the Jersey. So that's a